So our lives are a sequence of stories, one after the next. And I have a story in my sequence that I have a duty to tell. I have a duty to tell it because though all of our stories are different, they're all built on the same skeleton. And I would not be surprised to find out that one of you has dealt with this in your life, or that someday you will. So this story is very difficult for me to tell. It's recent, it's a fresh wound. So if you'll permit me, I want to hide behind a layer of fiction to make it easier. So this story is my dad as an alien. Maxillium E. Kenny is the best detective in his whole house, maybe his whole town. When the TV remote went missing for the third time, who did Dad trust to find it? Maxillium E. Kenny. When mosquitoes were getting into the house mysteriously, who did Dad trust? Maxillium E. Kenny. And when the cookie jar found itself mysteriously empty, well, some things are beyond even the greatest detectives. One day, Max was sitting at the table eating the best grilled cheese sandwich he'd ever had. It was munchy, it was crunchy, gooey, and delicious in every single way because his dad made it. And his dad is the best cook in the whole world. Just then, he heard a sound. It was the front door. He walked in the other room. He was curious. He saw that there was no one here. But his dad's coat was gone, and his dad's shoes were gone, and his dad was gone. Max's dad was gone for 3 days, and he spent those days at his grandma's house. But he knew there was something going on. This was a mystery. So he took down his detective's pencil, jotted a note, and said, very suspicious. I think this is a clue. Max's dad came back and Max got to go back home. But that wasn't the end of the mystery. For the very next day, he was walking in front of the window and he saw Max's dad running around the backyard, acting wild, playing in the jungle gym. So again, he took down his detective's pencil, jotted a note and said, that's suspicious. I think that's a clue. Soon, all he could see was the mystery. It was everywhere he looked. New clue, a new clue, a new clue. On Thursday, his dad bought 12 pianos. On Friday, his dad lost his job. On Saturday, his dad wouldn't talk to him no matter how hard he tried. And on Sunday, he had to go live with his grandma. He spent 2 weeks there with his grandma. And for an average detective, that might have ruined his case. He can't get any new clues. But this is Maxillium E. Kenny, the greatest detective in the whole town, maybe the state. So he took all of his clues, he spread them across the kitchen table, and he got to work. Just as soon as he did, his grandma poked her head in the doorway and said, "Good news, honey. Tomorrow, you get to go home to live with your dad again." Maxillium was mortified. He had 1 day to solve this case. He was not returning home until he solved it. He spent that entire day at the kitchen table, except for a couple breaks to go to the bathroom. Finally, he solved it. He called his grandma in. Grandma, I solved the case." She came in and she sat at the table. "Grandma, my dad's an alien." She looked at him for a long minute, her face its own mystery. And she said, "Oh, really? Why do you think that?" "Well, you see, Grandma, I first figured it out when he lost his job." She just stared at him for a minute. So he continued, "You see, aliens can't have human jobs." She thought for a minute. She said, "I suppose that's true, but I see lots of other clues here. What else?" "Well, you see, when he was running around the backyard," and he held up a slip showing his clue, "he was running around the backyard playing in the jungle gym." And his grandma stopped him. "What does that have to do with being an alien?" "Well, it's elementary, my dear Grandma." He was setting up a communications base to speak with his home planet. If you look at all of my clues, they all lead to the same thing. My dad is an alien. His grandma thought for a second, and a grim look came over her face. She said, "Well, if that's true, and you're going home tomorrow, and your dad is an alien, are you afraid?" Maxillium thought for a second, and he said, "No. If my dad really is an alien, that means he's not the best cook in the world. He's the best cook in the universe." The end.